Hi everybody, good afternoon and happy almost end of the week. Yay! I am Jess of Dark Light Porter Studios, and Tony is also here. He's our tech guy today, so he's behind the scenes running the show. So if anything goes wrong, you can blame him, not us.
Don't blame me.
I am here today with Miss Alicia and her two daughters, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and kind of tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we're going to get into it.
I am Alicia. I am Jaden's mom. I have 4 children. Sacaria is my oldest daughter. Genevieve is my youngest. My oldest is George. He's 21. And then Jaden was 15. He's the one that battled osteosarcoma for about 2.5 years. So cancer mom. Sacaria? I don't know.
I'm
Wow.
Sacaria.
Right.
I am known as Jaden's twin sister. I'm 17, and that's all I got.
She's gonna be a senior, so yay! Hopefully her senior year will go better than the class of 2020. We're keeping our fingers crossed. Yeah.
I'm Jena.
Aspiring model.
She is an aspiring, she does very well.
Show me a picture.
Yeah. She was very excited because she just found out that she was in a magazine because we did a photo shoot with her last summer. And oh my god, it was already last summer. It's been so long. So she got to be in there. She's down in the ad, being all sassy.
Right.
Yeah, so that's Jena. So today we're gonna talk about a lot of things. As Alicia mentioned, her son Jaden was battling pediatric cancer and unfortunately lost that battle, so we're going to hear a little bit about that. We're also going to hear about the session where these pictures were taken. As you can see, Jay is in there. He's wearing his anti-cancer shirts. They all were, and all the girls were wearing tutus, which was awesome. It was so much fun. We did that session out at Rowdy Stadium in St. Pete. The Rowdies were actually kind enough to let us use the stadium on a day when there was nobody else there, so we were able to do pictures there because Jaden was really, really into soccer. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but for now we're going to kind of get a little bit of backstory and some just kind of brief summary of the whole thing that you guys went through. Anything that you don't feel comfortable talking about, just gloss over it, that's fine. And we've all promised we're not gonna cry today. So
Right.
Lashes have been done, makeup has been put on, not on me obviously, but we don't want anyone just, running down their face. So yeah. Oh, and if Sacaria looks bad, you're supposed to tell her so she knows she can fix it.
Comment if I look bad so that I know.
Oh my. This is every day, all day.
Oh, to be 17 again.
Right.
So let's start out first. When did you first find out Jay's diagnosis?
So Jay's official diagnosis was April 11, 2017. And I'll give you a little backstory on, so March 30th, 2017, well, that morning Jaden woke up and he was like, hey mom, I'm not going to school today. I'm like, but you are. And he's like, no, I'm not. He's like, Sacaria. So at that time he was in 6th grade and she was in 8th grade. And she was out the day before because she genuinely was sick. So he's like, well, that's not fair. Sacaria got to take a day off. I want to take a day off. No, Jay, you're going to school. So around 9:15 or so, he called me at work. And he's like, hey mom. I'm like, Jaden, what? And he's like, I fell. And I said, what do you mean you fell? He's like, well, I was in PE and I tripped over the soccer ball. And I said, oh, okay, and he's like, yeah, I just fell. I just wanted to tell you. So I said, are you okay? I'm busy, Jaden. He's like, okay, I'll talk to you later. I'm like, no, Jaden, don't call me again. Like, I'll talk to you at home. And then about, I want to say like 1:30, he called me again. He's like, he sounded a little like if he was in pain, but nothing. Again, Jaden was an actor, very dramatic, as all my kids are. And he's like, hey mom, my leg really hurts. And I'm like, well, are you okay? He's like, well, I don't know, my knee really hurts. I said, well, go get some ice from the nurse. I don't know what to tell you. He's like, but mom, I really want to go home. No, Jaden. 3:45, I get the call. Hey, we're doing, the kids are about to get on the bus. We can't put Jay on the bus because he fell. It's liability. Long story short, they're like, you have to come and get him. I'm like, please, no. Like, I'm at work. So I ended up picking him up. He was in the wheelchair. He was milking it. Like, you had to know Jaden. Like, his hair was down to here and long lashes. And he just had everyone under his, like, spell. He's like, no, I'm just really sick. No. He gets in the car and he like hops in the car. Like first he couldn't walk, but now he hops in the car. He's like, I don't know, what was he shooting at you? Like spitballs or something? He was, or paper. He was doing something.
Yeah, we were having an intellectual conversation.
They were not. They were fighting because I remember driving and I was like, stop it now, because she was sitting in the back seat and they were arguing about who's sitting in the front and back. So as we're going home, I'm like, Jay, you know what? I'm just gonna take you to the urgent care because I really feel like you're lying. Like I'm gonna prove to you there's nothing wrong, and that's how we found out.
Wow.
At the urgent care, they did X-rays and they said something's wrong, and they sent the X-rays over to St. Joe's, and they're like, yeah, he has cancer. I'm like, no, he doesn't. Like he fell. Like what are you talking about? Like I had no idea that there was bone cancer. Like I didn't even know what sarcomas were. You know, you only hear about like breast cancer or, you know, leukemias and stuff like that. So I'm like, you didn't even do blood work. Like he's fine. And that's how our journey started. And his official diagnosis was April 11, 2017. He had a team over at Moffitt. They came over to Johns Hopkins, all children, and they did the biopsy. And that's, I found out that day. And for our world just changed that day. And it just, we went straight full force into treatment. It was literally, he had 28 cycles. So each cycle was broken up into 4 for Jay. So it would be 3 weeks on, 1 week off. And it just kept going for 10 months. And then he rang the bell January 21st, 2018. We thought he was good to go. He was in remission. His scans came back clear in February. So I took some time off of work. Like I'm not going back to work until I know he's back in school. His report comes out. And he kept saying, Mom, I don't feel well. And the doctors were like, oh, well, that's normal. You know, once you go through chemo, you're tired. So I said, okay. He started back at Pierce. He was in 7th grade at the time. And then at his first set of scans in May, around Mother's Day, we found out he relapsed into his lungs. They found 3 tumors in his lungs. So we had to start all over again, put the port back in. We did 4 cycles. And then he had what's called a thoracotomy. They split his ribs and cut out his, very painful, cut out his, you know, tumors and pieces of his lungs, and finished 2 more cycles. His scans were clear. And then we're like, all right, he rang the bell November 6th, 2018. And we're like, okay, great, we're good to go, we're done, like cancer's behind us, because everything was clear. And then he never went into remission. He just kept on progressively getting worse, and his tumors went. So osteosarcoma, like I said, it's a bone cancer. So typically kids pass from it because wherever the original tumor is, normally they relapse into their lungs, and it continues relapsing in their lungs. So obviously there's only so much you can cut of the lung, you know.
Right.
But Jaden, that wasn't the case. Like it never went back into his lungs. It just spread everywhere else, and that's not typical at all. Like it went from one side, because it started in his left tibia, to his right side, to his hips, to his spine, to his brain. And then he became paralyzed in March 2019, right after the photo shoot. Literally like 3 weeks after, he became completely paralyzed from the chest down. And then he did palliative radiation for a while, more for comfort than for, you know, curative measures. So every time they would, you know, zap him with this radiation, the tumors, not that they would shrink, but it would cause less swelling and inflammation and pain. But then finally, his body couldn't handle it. So April was the last treatment he did. He couldn't do chemo pills. He just had a bad reaction, and it was just making him worse than better. So, I mean, the doctors wanted us to focus more on quality of life as opposed to, you know, curative measures, you know. So he just, I mean, he survived. He was a fighter. Originally, they gave us 4 months after his, you know, relapse. April came, and we're like, okay, he's gonna die. No, Jaden's like, no, I'm good. And then he was fine. And then they said, you know, he won't be here for May, like, because her birthday's in May. He was here for her birthday. Then they said June, you know, you have about 2 or 3 weeks left. You're not doing well. But we don't like to give a timeline. Jaden's like, no, I want to know. And he kept telling his entire team, both at Moffitt and at Johns Hopkins, no, I will be here for my birthday. And they said, Jaden, no, like, that's just too far out. Like, there's just, you're getting worse. And sure enough, he was here on his 15th birthday, October 6th, 2019 at 1:53, he took his last breath.
On his birthday.
On his birthday. So I was able to send the email to everyone like, he made it to his birthday. Like, it was very immature of me. I'm, you know, but still, like, there's only so much you can take. Like, you can't put a timeline on someone's life because you just never know. And Jaden had so much, like, passion and strength, and he just had so much faith. That's one thing that I've learned from Jay. Like, he had so much, like, faith. Like, he would tell his entire team, he's like, I believe in God and you're not God. You can't tell me when I'm gonna die. And he's like,
Right.
I will be here. I'm gonna make sure my family's good. My mom, because he was a mama's boy.
Yeah.
Make sure my mom is good. And then he definitely waited for his birthday, waited for everyone to pray over him. And he planned out everything, who he wanted in the room, and then I just held him in my arms, and everyone held him, and he took his last breath.
Mm. Oh, see, it makes me want to. It's okay. Let me look up.
You don't have to.
Look up. We actually, the first time I met Jay was at the Children's Cancer Center Wine Women to Shoes. It was when he rang the bell, because I did pictures of everybody that had walked, all the kids that had walked on the stage. So that was the first time I met him. Was then, and at that time he was in the wheelchair, but he had gotten up to walk down the runway or the stage, and then he got up. I want to say he got up and was standing in some of the pictures that we did for the Children's Cancer Center. And then we saw him, the next time we saw him was at his soccer tournament that they had over there off of Linebaugh.
Yeah, in January.
We saw him then, and I guess he had a headache that day or something. He was sitting all covered up, and everyone was trying to do stuff, and he was just like, he wasn't feeling it.
We had no idea that he had tumors in his brain. We didn't know.
He was talking about headaches and stuff, and I just felt he didn't really feel good, but you could still see that in him, where he was still, even though he didn't feel good, he still wanted people to know that he appreciated what they were doing and all that. So that was I think everybody had fun that day, and he got a bunch of stuff, like soccer stuff, and they played games and whatnot. And then after that, I got an email from Sharon at the Children's Cancer Center, and she said, Jaden's prognosis is poor. She knew that we worked with an organization out of California that provides photography for sick children, which we'll talk about more of that in a minute. So she wanted us to get in and do pictures with Jay. And then you guys had a crazy schedule. And so I remember, because we were supposed to do it like before Thanksgiving, and then something came up, and it just wasn't happening. And we ended up rescheduling until February. And that whole time, I was terrified. I was so scared. I was so scared that something was going to happen before we could get the pictures done. And I told you guys that day. Like, I was so scared. And so we had booked it in February, and then the day we were supposed to do it, it rained. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. It rained so hard. And so we postponed, and then we ended up doing it the following week or whatever, and everything, the weather was beautiful, it worked out really nicely. But I will tell you that week, I had so much anxiety. And I was telling Tony, I was like, if something happens, I'm never going to forgive myself for canceling that photo session. Because I would have rather done it in the rain than to not have done it. And for that week, I was a mess. I don't think I slept good. I was just like, it was terrible. Because all I could think was, at that point, I think you guys were still maybe going up to Boston and trying to look for other treatment. And there was still that hope that things are going to go well. So I think at that time, at least for you guys, you weren't thinking like, I need to have these pictures, they're really important. For me, being that he's not my son and I can look at this in a different perspective, I'm going, we have got to get these pictures taken just in case. Worst case scenario, anything happens, we've got to have these pictures. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what pictures mean now more than they did then. But before we get into that, for you guys, how was it? Let's say, okay, we go to school, we come home, we find out, bam, my brother has cancer. So what were you thinking? And try to just talk loud, because we've got to make sure we get voice.
Here she goes.
So the whole time I thought he was kind of faking it, because one of the days she went to go walk the dogs, he was up and walking, and I was like, are you serious? And so yeah, I thought he was faking it. And then I remember one day she was taking me to school, and she was like, so I have to talk to you, blah, 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 blah. And then she was telling me, and I was like, oh my god. So then I remember telling my best friend, because I was like, he either has a bone fracture, it's this, and then me and her were just a mess. And then yeah, I remember getting home that day and everyone was crying, and I cry a lot, but I'm not one to cry with people. I'll cry about myself, So yeah, it was really intense and really scary, because like I said, even though me and Jay weren't the same age, we were the same age. We were twins, so
16 months apart.
Yeah. So it was kind of like the end of my world. And yeah, I just remember being like really like nervous. Like I was kind of just like, what the hell is that? Like what is that? Like I didn't know what it was. Like I didn't know what it meant. And then I just remember him going from like annoying and bad and like jumping off the walls to like laying down all the time. And then I remember the day, because I had went to school, and when I came back home, all his hair was gone. So I was like, well, that's shocking, like, you know, because I had never seen him with like short hair or anything like that.
He's always had long hair. Like he was like that surfer, like just like a little surfer boy.
He was playing on Brigham and having the mun.
Yeah,
the soccer player man mun.
He'd always wear like the headband and then like the matching headband with his uniform and then like the bun.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, it was really intense for an 8th grader.
Yeah. Well, and even Jenna was even younger than that. So
Yeah.
how did you? Obviously, it wasn't like, oh my God, this is great news. But how were you feeling? You don't know?
Pretty sad. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your big brother. You know, I think if it was me, just saying, you know, if it was one of my siblings, of course I would feel terrible, but I would also feel a little bit guilty, like, dang, I shouldn't have yelled at him for touching my stuff, or I shouldn't have done this, or whatever. Because then you're like, oh, he's really sick, and he's really not faking, and, you know, all the time I gave him a hard time, you know, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
He was always getting in trouble, so, like, I live with a lot of, like, that regret. Like, what if it didn't, like, the things, now we see things differently. Like, didn't matter, like, if his room was clean. Didn't matter if he, you know, put mud all over the house because he didn't want to take his cleats off. But, so now I sit back and I'm like, man, I wish I could have that time back.
Yeah.
So.
Wish I could have mud all over my house.
And that other thing, he would always twirl my hair, and I would, stop touching me. He would always, like this, all the time. Like, when I tell you he was a mama's boy, he was, like, yeah, one of those kids, like, I would be in the bathroom and his hands would be on. And I'm not talking just as a little kid. I'm, like, he was a teenager. I'm like, Jaden, like, what do you think I'm doing in the bathroom? Like, did I go somewhere else? Mom, are you okay in there? Jaden, I'm taking a shower. Leave me alone.
Like the cat with its paw under the door.
Yeah, that was Jaden. So. It's, you know, we miss him so much.
Yeah. I think just judging from like the posts on Facebook and the support and stuff from people on Facebook, he had a huge group of supporters and of people who loved him, which is phenomenal. We went to the funeral, and the pastor that was there was saying how he planned out all the aspects of his funeral. I mean, he, like, the songs and the talk, the speeches and all that kind of stuff, like, he planned all of that. And I look at it and go, even at my age, and I'm old, so at my age, I don't have that where I can go, okay, well, at my funeral, I want this and this and this to happen. I already told Tony, I said, just put me under a tree or something. Like, I don't want to play.
I mean, he plans everything. I mean, like, we had to have conversations, I mean, back, you know, after the photo shoot, like, hey, Mom, let's sit down and talk. And no, like, in my mind, I'm like, he's fine. I mean, what mom thinks their child's going to die? So I'm like, Jaden, we're just going to be positive. We're going to, you know, just keep pushing. He would sit down and say, no, we have to talk about this. And they gave him, the palliative care team at Johns Hopkins gave him like I forgot what the name of the book is. Something like My Wish, My something. So he had to write everything that he wanted, whether it was like the food, you know, for his funeral. Like, when I tell you, he planned everything from the colors, everything, like how he wanted everything. I mean, I think the only thing we added was the chocolate pudding. And there was a whole table of chocolate pudding. And then we added, Ali sang 2 songs. She loved Jaden, and Jaden, like, you know, was always there when she was performing. So she sang 2 of, like, the songs that he chose, so.
Yeah, I'm still not that organized. I'm organized, but I'm not even close to that. Some of the organizations that you guys worked with, I mentioned the Children's Cancer Center already, which, if you don't know about the Children's Cancer Center, if you have a child who has a cancer diagnosis, they're wonderful people. They really are. And I'll let Alicia talk a little bit about them, but they're here in Tampa, and they do really good work. They do a lot of stuff. They help a lot of families. But what are some of the other organizations that you guys worked with, or even that contributed, that stepped up, that you were like, I didn't even know these people knew we existed?
So again, the Children's Cancer Center was our first lifeline. Without them, honestly, I don't think we could have made it. They were there from the very beginning to the very end. They helped us with the kids, you know, financially, Jaden, just everything, teen group. We did a lot with the Ryan Callahan Foundation. I'm not sure if you know.
I've heard of it, but I don't know
So,
the details.
Ryan Callahan played for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think he was number 24, I believe. We weren't into hockey until after, because Jaden, we were a soccer family, so
Right.
Jaden, you know, they introduced themselves and we got to see games. They did a lot for us financially. I mean, it was to the point where they became good friends of ours, and they were at the funeral. They were
Yep.
the ones standing in the back. They were at the very end standing. Kyla always, you know, texts me and checks up on us, even now. And they actually just moved. We've done a lot with the NPCF, the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation.
MIB.
The MIB, and Make It Better for Osteosarcoma. So the MIB, well, let me back up for the NPCF first. So the NPCF, we were introduced to them when Jay relapsed, and they are amazing. Like, when I tell you, they are here locally as well. They're actually near the Children's Cancer Center, and they are just amazing. They do more research based as opposed to the CCC. And they just love kids and the kids with cancer. And actually we're really great friends with Chelsea. She actually had cancer, and now, you know, she's in remission and everything, but now she gives back and she helps. They did the fashion show. There was something else we did. The fishing tournament. We didn't do the fishing tournament because Jaden's like, I don't do fish. I'm not going out there. So we went to the after. Jaden was awarded the Heart of a Champion award. So one child gets awarded this, you know, showing bravery, like just that competitive spirit he had. And then the MIB, Make It Better for Osteosarcoma. It's an all osteosarcoma, not-for-profit. The founder, Anne Graham, she actually had osteosarcoma and was treated at a children's hospital because osteosarcoma, one, is rare, and like treatment is the same for everyone. So and the reason she started it was because she was again on the children's floor, and I guess the girl that was on the same map as her, like the same timeline as her, when Anne went into remission, the little girl passed away. So it was like, why one and not the other, you know? Right. So she makes it better for kids and families with osteosarcoma. Towards the end, they sent us on our last wish, and they sent us to Disney in June, right before Jay, you know, got really, really sick. So we had a week long down at Give Kids the World, Give Kids the World. I always say it backwards. We went to Disney. We went to all the Disney parks, Universal. We went to SeaWorld. So we had, you know, they filmed a video just like this, talking. So it was our last video. You know, Jaden was talking, and he was like talking about his experience. So we watched that, you know, all the time.
Yeah.
So, we did Fight for Gold.
Yeah.
Kaylin, awesome.
Kaylin is amazing.
Yeah, if you don't know Kaylin, we'll introduce you to her. She's I love her. Like, we met her maybe a month after Jay was diagnosed. And I'll tell you about it. It was so funny. Like, at first I was like, why is this girl like texting me? Like, I don't know. Like, she's messaging me on social media. I'm like, she's trying to like abduct Jaden.
20.
Yeah, so she's young, and you know, she was 16, 17 when we met her, and I was like, oh my god, maybe this is like a plot to like steal our kids. I'm like, no, I can't, like, what is wrong with people? And she was like, how about we meet somewhere neutral? And I was like, like where? She's like, well, I'm hosting this event at the church. I'm like, okay, if it's at church, it has to be, you know, legit. So
surely they would have done this from the church.
Right, no one will have done this from church. So we went to the church. Jenna, what's the name of the church? Because we used to go there. I can't even think of it right now. St. Lawrence, yes, here in Tampa, and she had a whole table, and she had like Jaden's pictures, and she was collecting gifts and items, donation items to give out to the kids with cancer and their families. She had raised money for us, so
She just does a lot. She's really dedicated to like what she does. She does Christmas like every year. Like, I help her with like the Christmas party. It's like she helps, you know, kids who won't, you know, Santa won't visit and stuff. Right. And then she's just really dedicated in like what she does. She's always taking care of the kids. Like, she babysits kids. Like, she'll go out of her way to like buy kids stuff and everything like that.
But she became like Jaden's best friend. Like, Jaden knew her as, hey Kaylin, can you go get me a spicy chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A? Because she literally lived 2 blocks from our house, so it's like, she kind of stuck with us.
Considered my sister. Like, now she's like our family. She's like my other daughter. She always cared for Jaden. She was always there for him, always there for us.
She would pick up like each. So it wasn't just about Jaden. Like she would take Jena and do
Me and
stuff.
her were like co-parents of a hermit crab. Like it was really serious. It was really serious.
Wow, you guys, that's long. That's like wow.
I was mom for like a little bit.
She went on our vacation with us when we went. The CCC had sent us to the beach for a weekend, to Madeira Beach, and they usually do that for cancer families. But Miss Sharon knew like this was right when Jay was considered terminal, like how much it would mean to us. So I called her. I'm like, do you want to come? I said, Jada wants you to come. And she said, okay. And she spent, the weekend with us. And it was just a good time, just, we can look back at these memories and be like, wow, like so many people reached out to us and they did so much for us that now that we're looking back and Jay's not here, I'm like, wow, I can really appreciate how much, like, people cared about Jaden and our family.
Yep. I was just thinking about it too, as I remember now, the first time that we had set up to do his photo shoot, he couldn't do it because he was going to a concert. You guys went to some big concert and there was like a bunch of people and he got to meet a bunch of the artists.
What's her name?
Sabrina Parker.
Yeah.
They know. I remember.
Did a little photo shoot with her. It was cute. Like they took pictures. And he's like, Mom, I met someone famous. And I'm like, I don't know where she's from. I'm sorry.
I'll take your word for it. Now that, since he's passed, obviously life is 100% different. Just like, it's like, here's life, and then there's cancer life.
Yeah.
Now there's post-cancer life. So what do you think, besides Jay not being here, what is the biggest change that you've seen in your life now that he's passed?
We've gone through a lot. Let me tell you, I'm going to write a book because, it's only been 10 months and we've been through a lot. But it's hard because, again, I'm a mom of 4, and it's like I try to tell people, like, I have had 2 sons, 2 daughters, and now I have 2 daughters, and 1 son. So it's hard. So, like, it brings me closer to my kids. But at the same time, it's like I miss Jaden so much, and I'm trying to be strong for the girls and Georgie. But it's hard because it's like Jaden was the pain in the neck of the house. Like he was the troublemaker. Like he was always getting in trouble. But he was also like, again, like a mama's boy, and he was always the one that, even when he was battling, even when he was on his deathbed, honestly, like Mom, you have to promise me that you'll be okay. Mom, you have to promise me you'll keep fighting it. And like he actually wrote it down that he wanted me to forever be a pediatric cancer advocate. He listed the NPCF, the Children's Cancer Center, MIB, and actually Fight for Gold, because I opened the book. Those 4 to continue being a voice for them, whether it's fundraising is what I meant to say. Just helping other families out. He never wanted, or he was telling me he doesn't want another child to go through what he went through, and Jaden had it bad, and it's just hard just looking back at life. Like I remember before he was diagnosed, I was so worried about work and being the best that I could be at work, and always having everything organized in my OCD, and it's like work so we can have money and pay bills. And now I look back and I'm like, it doesn't matter, like that, those things. Of course you have to work, but still, like I would have given anything to not work 40 plus hours, or worry about work all the time, it's not the same. Life has changed. I appreciate so much more now. And
yeah, it's unfortunate that something like this has to happen in order to appreciate it. I think, especially being here in America, we live in a country where all the focus is on go to work, make money. The American dream is to, own a business or work 100,000 hours a week. And there's other countries where they go to work as little as possible and they have a lot of family time. And it's like, I feel like they're doing it right and we're doing it wrong. So if anyone out there who has power we need to work less.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's so sad that this kind of stuff, and you're not alone in this. Other people I think have come to this realization, but then it's too late. For some. Now obviously not for these guys, they're still home, so it's like, yay, spend time with us, which is great, but it sucks that something has to happen negative in order for a positive thing to come out of it. That being said, now that we have coronavirus, everyone's spending more time together. And I think one of the things that that I've heard parents complain about, there, especially when school was still in session, is oh my god, I have to learn how to do this. Which, by the way, I saw the new math thing the other day, and I was like, why would you ever do this? This is the longest, most tedious, stupidest, ridiculous thing ever. I've heard that there's a reason behind new math, but I am not convinced.
But I bet now that all the kids are at home that they're doing it the way we did when we were growing up. Common car's out.
That's because all the moms are like, I have no
Yeah.
idea how to do this.
All right, so no,
This is
that's me. I'm
ridiculous.
like, no, you're doing it this way. Carry the one, and that's it.
That's right. But especially with parents having to teach their kids at home, which they're also all realizing how much work teachers do, raising your children. But they're realizing, you know, oh my God, the kids are home all day. They're driving me crazy. They're eating me out of house and home because the grocery bill has gone way up. They're driving me nuts with the TV, whatever. But then you look at it and you go, I would love to be in that position.
Yeah.
Because now you're in a position where you can't spend time. So I just want to touch on that for people who are, your kids may be driving you crazy. You may want to throw them outside and lock the door and take a bath. But if they weren't there and they didn't have the option to be there, then, you know, then you're like, holy crap, I wish I hadn't thrown them outside. So just talk a little bit about that, about how, I don't know how that kind of works. Like, now that you don't have the option of Jay being here, what would you do differently if you could?
I mean, we just talked about this the other day on Sunday in the car. It's hard, and I was so angry when Jay passed because it's like, why my child? Not that I would want ever another child to pass or wish cancer on anybody, but like, why Jaden? Like, but the thing is, it's like, before cancer, like, our biggest problems were, oh my God, like, Jay has a tournament this week, I have work. Jaden, you know, they made it to nationals, I have to take more days off. Like, it was always like, that was our stress. Like, so I can't get mad because we were there. We were once that family. Like, she would get mad, it's my birthday. Well, but Jaden has a tournament. Like, we're going away for Memorial Weekend. Like, sorry. Like, so like, that was our, you know, oh my God moment, you know. But then when Jay got sick, and then it's like, wow, like, we don't care about all this extra stuff because we're in the fight for our life, you know, trying to save Jay. And then Jay got sicker, and then more, you know, and then when he passed, it's like, wow, like, I see people, even people tell us now, and I know people don't mean it, but they're like, oh man, you don't understand how stressed out I am. I'm like, are you sure? Really? Because I don't think you know what it's like to lose a child. Or people are just like, yeah, I wish I can have a few, even other cancer moms, and I know they don't mean it, because again, cancer moms, we're all groups that we know kind of what each other is going through, but they're like, God, I need a break. And I'm like, really? Like, you're telling me? Like, I watched my son die. Like, so it's kind of, and again, it's not intentional, but it hurts. Like, especially when, you know, now with COVID and we're home and we're, you know, quarantined, it's like, you're lost with your thoughts, and that's scary, because it's just like, you know, I'm sorry you're going through that, but I really don't care. Like, and I don't mean to be heartless, because I'm the nicest person. It's just, it's hard. Like, people try to compare problems all the time with me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would trade all of this and have your problems if you knew what it was like to feel a little bit of what it's like to lose a child, you know. I mean, and that's from my perspective. I don't know from there.
Yeah, it's just, it gets ridiculous, especially like kids my age, like a lot of my friends and stuff. You know, he broke up with me, or she broke it. Listen, I would much rather be like out of a relationship and stuff than like to lose my brother, you know?
So, because the thing with all of this, it's not just that Jay passed, it is, but we lost, like, I'll never see my son drive, I'll never see my son graduate, I'll never see him get married, go to college, play, you know, his dream was to play soccer, professionally, and he had it all planned out, like where he wanted to go to school, you know, he wanted to play for USF. I'll never see that. So it's not just that we lost Jay now and people say time heals. It doesn't. I don't think so. But it's like, I've lost everything, like the future, like, so it just all left, you know. It's, you know, he always talked about, I want to get married. He loved Katie. Put that one out there. And he was, Mom, I'm gonna have kids. I'm like, okay, like, sure.
His thing since he was younger was,
this is funny.
He was like, when I get married and have kids and have a nice house, me and you are gonna live in the main house, and my wife and kids are gonna live in the back.
He has said that since he was like 3 years old.
Who's gonna live in the back?
They're gonna be out in the yard.
Right, Jaden, that's not how it works when you get married. Mom, I am. I'm gonna live with you
They have
forever.
to pay rent. They have to get Jaden.
What? Jaden, I don't think that's how it's gonna. Talk to me when you're older. And he's like,
Right.
no, I'll always feel that way, Mom. It's like, okay.
No girl ever would have been good enough.
Right.
Sorry, you gotta live in the back by yourself.
Right. Yeah, like my mom's gonna stay right here. You can just be over there.
I'm pretty sure that would fly with anybody.
Yeah, if he would find a girl that would do that, you'd have to wonder, like, what's wrong with her?
Yeah.
So,
We're having a
yikes.
community household.
Oy. So like we said earlier, we did do these photos here that you can see on the canvases. We did those in February of 2019.
18. Right?
19.
No, 19.
Was
Yeah,
it 19?
19. It was
Oh,
last year.
someone was telling me it was, I was like, no, it was 19. They're like, it was 18.
Yeah, it was 19.
Right?
Last year.
Okay.
It was 19. Yeah, it was last
Look at my
February.
glasses.
Yeah. So we did these in February of last year, 2019. And Jay actually was feeling better. Then he was able to stand up, as you can see in these pictures. Some of them he did do sitting in the wheelchair, but he was able to stand up. And that was in February. And
I remember he was like, can you put the little thing this way? No, this way because it's too hot.
yeah,
So
he was
you
so
guys had to do
particular.
your job.
Bossy much?
And make sure you stand this way. I was like, Jaden,
Yeah.
they're not like, we don't know them that well again.
It was fine. No, they did. He did really well, and we got a lot of pictures of the whole family together. Obviously, as you can see from these, we got ones of them individually with him. We had pictures of him and mom, him and dad, him and sisters, him and brother, all mixed in. We did it at the Rowdy Stadium because, as I mentioned, he was really, really into soccer. And so, and of course they wore their anti-cancer shirts. And so the whole experience was good. The weather was beautiful. It was really, it just worked out. We couldn't have asked for a better weekend. And the great thing was that Jay was able to stand up. He was able, not so much walk around, but he was able to at least stand up and be in some of the pictures. And then we did pictures of Jena in like June.
Oh, it was July actually. Yeah,
July. It was hot.
Yeah.
Holy
And
cow,
she
it was
was
hot.
so mad. Remember with the mosquitoes?
The mosquitoes were getting her. She was furious. And we kept being like, you want to be a model, you better suffer through it.
The rabbit came. Remember that? And she almost died. She's like, I'm done. She's like, I'm done taking pictures.
Jay was over it. But she did a really good job. And Jay actually came to that. He was in the wheelchair. And by that time, from February to July, he had changed so much. So much. He was in the wheelchair. He honestly, we saw him. Actually, I forgot. We saw him at the Children's Cancer Center. You guys, you were there because we did the superhero pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And Tony was like, I think I saw Jaden out there. He's like, but I almost don't even recognize him. Because he had, I guess he was on steroids at that time, and he had gained a ton of weight, and he really looked different.
He was so chubby.
Yeah, he really was. And at Jenna's photo shoot, he was eating like a madman.
He was eating something.
Cheetos or
hot
something,
chips,
and
yeah.
hot Cheetos. He
his
was covered in hot Cheetos.
He was. And he's like, I'm thirsty. I'm like, Jaden, we're in the middle of a photo shoot. Mom, I'm really thirsty.
And then we got those ices, and then he, yeah, and then he was like, "Can I have one?"
It was
This is
all
for
over
Jenna.
his face.
He's like, "Can I just please have
It
one?"
was such a mess.
Oh, God.
And even as you could tell that he was, I mean, you could tell he was sick. You really could. He was still in such good spirits, and he was so supportive of Jenna, and he was making jokes, and he was eating more hot Cheetos than anyone should probably ever eat.
Yeah, really intense.
It really was. But and he still had that attitude about him, like that you could just tell that he was trying to be cheerful for other people, and then he was happy and as happy as he could be. I just remember him talking about how he's snacking like he's having PMS.
That's what he said, yeah. I was like, really, Jaden?
Yeah, he's like, I'm like a woman with PMS. I was just like, holy cow.
You're like, a what? What?
I was like, oh.
And then literally like right after that photo shoot, he was like, "Mom, can we go to Applebee's?"
He was.
What are you talking about?
Those steroids just made him hungry. He just ate and ate and ate.
Holy cow! I was like, I've never seen anyone eat that many hot Cheetos before.
And sour Skittles.
Sour
We
Skittles.
had boxes and bags of sour
I don't know
Skittles.
how I just don't know how. Like my taste buds would burn off if I ate
Yeah.
sour Skittles. Like I just,
Yeah. Ugh.
He would
It was
keep
numb
it
from
in
the hot
his-
Cheetos.
Yeah.
He would keep the Cheetos here and then the sour Skittles on this side. And his phone. Don't forget about the phone.
Of course, the phone, always. Let's talk a little bit about this photo shoot that we did. So I know at that time we didn't really know you guys that well, and it was kind of like, hi, I'm Jess. You really know me. We've met a couple times because we met also at the Christmas party the year prior. We met him at the Wine Women
yeah,
Shoes.
I forgot.
Then I took your picture at the Christmas party. You guys were all wearing ugly sweaters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we saw you in February when Sharon had hooked us up. And let me just tell you a little bit about that. So prior to these guys, we had actually been contacted by a lady who runs an organization in California called Quiet Strength. She began the organization because she lost her 6-year-old daughter to a brain tumor, or 6-year-old granddaughter, I'm sorry. And she contacted us because there was a little girl who lived in Lutz, Florida, who had that same brain tumor, and it's inoperable. It's like spaghetti, they've explained it, so they can't take it out because it kind of wraps around the brainstem, and it's just horrible. So this lady in California contacted us because she runs an organization that hooks photographers up with kids who are terminal and make sure that they get a photo shoot before they pass so that their parents will have something. And so we went to Lutz, we did a photo shoot there of a little girl. She was 8. She had the tumor. She was paralyzed on one side. Her face had like just was a little disfigured on one side. And I went up. I did pictures of her. And then it was September. She actually passed in September. That's why I keep thinking September. So she passed that following September. And then so we did Jay's pictures in February because I know Sharon at the Children's Cancer Center, and I had kind of told her about the program with Quiet Strength. And so when they found out that Jay's prognosis wasn't great, she called us and said, hey, can you do pictures for these guys? We've been working with Jaden, his prognosis is poor, it's important that they get pictures. And like I mentioned earlier, we had to keep scheduling it, pushing it back, because they had stuff going on, and I was so scared that we weren't going to get those pictures in time. And at the time, I think everybody in this family was going, obviously you're not thinking about pictures in the future. Because you're focused on what's going on right now. We need to live for now.
Yep.
Like, this is what we're doing. So with Quiet Strength, we do the pictures, they get sent to California, and then Ms. Mary at Quiet Strength actually prints out canvases of the images that the family wants, and that's some of these. They got a couple, at least one more at the house.
There's 2 more.
2 more at the house. And they also give them 4x6 prints. Alicia, because Jaden passed, wasn't feeling the need to look at them at that time and wasn't wanting to have them. She just wasn't in a place where she could go ahead and order them. So these pictures are actually fairly recent. They just got ordered a couple months.
Not even.
Yeah, it hasn't been long at all.
July?
No, it's not the end of June.
Okay. June,
Yeah.
July.
So sometime this summer. So these are fairly new because it took that long to get to a point where she felt okay, and that's fine. That's not, hey, we've got them, they're not going anywhere. Even if for some reason she didn't have them, I still had them. So before Jaden passed, I know that the pictures were not something you were thinking about. Now that he has passed and time has passed, it's like, oh my god, I need to get these. So speak a little bit about the difference of kind of what you were going through in that area.
So Miss Sharon had reached out to us, at that time, and she's like, hey, I really want, you guys to get with you, with you and do the pictures. And I was like, yeah, sure. But I didn't want to. Like, I was just like, no, sure. Jaden's not dying. Like, he's not terminal. Like, he's fine. Like, we'll be fine. And then in December, we went to our wish trip. Jaden, we went to Colorado. Again, I was like, no, we'll do it when we get back. No worries. Like, again, he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. And then we came back. We stayed for a day. Went to Disney.
Yep.
Spent New Year's. Actually, the Ryan Callahan Foundation sent us that way. So we're like, yeah, we'll call them, and then we didn't. And then we just kept pushing it back.
Luckily, I'm persistent.
Because for me, it was like, I felt like if I gave in, it meant Jaden was terminal, and I was like, no, he's fine. I don't need pictures. Like, I have plenty of them. Really, I'm not gonna lie. But then it's like, okay, then I think we found out he had the brain tumor. The tumors before we took the pictures? Yeah, because we were going to Boston. So then that's when I kind of was like, okay, now we should do it because he's getting really bad and he's just progressing worse. So we did the pictures. We got the photo book, and then I couldn't open it. I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, Jaden's here. He's fine. I don't want to look at it. I actually put it away. And then when Jay passed, I saw it, and I'm like, I can't. I just really can't relive this. And then in December, I lost everything on my iPhone, every single thing. Like, I don't care what people say. I was backing my phone up, the cloud, whatever. It was as though I had no cloud. Every single picture I had from 2017 until the Jay passed, gone. Like, I don't have anything. So anyway, so that's still months went by, December, January. It's like, I'm not doing this. And then, like I said, in the summertime, I sat there one day and I'm like, I really need pictures because I don't have pictures. We did a photo shoot. This is my opportunity to have something of Jay. And I cried. I just sat at the computer. They were sleeping, and I just looked at the book, and I just cried and cried and cried. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to pick out the ones that I love, regardless what they say. Like, these are my pictures. And I picked one of each of us, like my favorite. So I picked, each picture has, I don't know if you can see, like, Jaden's holding all of us. Like, it's Jenna. I mean, Jenna is, well, you can't see his arm, but he was like fixing her hair in that picture, and then like she was like holding his arm, and then Sacaria is holding Jaden's face
framed in my room.
Yeah, and I love it because she's holding his face, but he's holding on to her like you're my big sister. The two of my two boys, like that's like the best picture because they're always gonna be, you know, bonded by that because they're brothers. And I don't know, I just love that picture. And then there's me and Jaden. I was actually sniffing his head, and he caught me. I wasn't really kissing him. I was actually, because he smelled so cute. Like, he smelled like a baby.
He did. He smelled like a baby.
So he's like, Mom, and he's laughing. He's like, are you seriously sniffing my head? Yes, I am. So for me, those were my favorite pictures. And they're funny stories because, you know, Georgie actually never smiles in any picture. Like
that's the most emotion.
Yeah, like right there, I'm like, oh my god, I have a picture of both. Well, not really Jaden smiling, but they kind of have like that smirk. So
they have
like,
the
that's
same
my
look.
favorite. Yeah. So that's my Ebony and Ivory right there. So I love it. And then it's like over here, it's like Jenna and Jaden used to fight the most. They battled, right, Jenna? Yeah. They were always fighting. I mean, it would be like, you know, Jenna, it's hot outside. No, it's cold. Like, they would fight over everything. Like, the best thing was the chargers. Like, Jaden, we all have iPhone chargers. This is how special my children are.
3 out of her 4 kids have, like,
the same initial.
Yeah.
Like, so Jaden was like, I wrote my initials on the charger. J-O. I'm like,
well, Jaden.
Like, he has the same exact initials. What do you mean, Mom? I'm like, Jaden. What? Okay. Like, I can't make this stuff up. So he would write a 3 because that was his soccer number. So that's what we dealt with. They were always fighting. So I love that picture because they weren't fighting at that moment. It was like they were actually bonding, and it's stuff like that we look back at. And, you know, it wasn't just a photo shoot because we were fighting. We were literally fighting the entire photo shoot. I don't know if you remember this, but we're like, Jaden's like, I don't want to go over there. Jaden, shut, we're going over there. No, I want the pictures here. I'm like pushing in the wheelchair, like, shut up. Just put a smile on your face. So,
I'm gonna do this. Let me just do it. And Jaden just stand there.
Or he would be like, Mom, just let me. Mom, give me the thing. And I'm like, oh my god. Like, he had the contract that he was signing.
And he's on every single page.
Yeah. And he's like, Mom, are you staring at me? Yes, Jaden, I want to see what you're signing. Mom, just go. We fought the entire time.
And then he was like, are they taking pictures of me signing? It's Jaden, yes. That's the whole point.
That's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing.
He's like, are they seriously looking at me? Jaden, like, they're right there. I think they can hear you. Like, so we fought the whole time. So it's just another memory of ours. So it was beautiful, but, you know.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out. Luckily, it worked out.
Welcome to my life.
Such a mess. So now that things have kind of, I guess, probably calmed down a little bit. I mean, things are life is going on and as best it can. Are you in any kind of like support groups, or is there anything for people here that people might need to know about?
So we started with One Voice after Jay passed. We didn't know anything about One Voice at all prior. But they do a lot of bereavement, but they also cater to, they're kind of like the Children's Cancer Center, but they're located in Brandon, and like, we never heard of them. Like, I don't know how, but we just, so we do that. But now with COVID, it's kind of like everything's on pause. We do, the MIB started offering their first ever bereavement counseling. So what they have right now, it started, there's 8 families, and I just started that support group on Monday, and we're just basically sharing our stories. And again, it's an only osteosarcoma group, so we all are, like, our stories are similar, but they're different. So it's like I can relate to them, you know, more so than other cancer families because their kids literally went through basically what Jay went through.
Right.
What else? What else do we do? Nothing else about it.
Yeah, honestly.
Well, I mean, whatever gets you through the day. I feel like when somebody loses a family member, it's other people you don't really know how to react. You want to be there to support somebody, but at the same time, you don't want to say the wrong thing, or you don't want to come off like you're being too I like too clingy, like anytime, you know, because some people deal with grief differently, and some people want to be left alone, and some people want to be surrounded by people, and you just kind of never know. For you guys, at your ages, like, do your friends? Was it really hard for your friends? Not in terms of Jay being gone, but in terms of like what to say to you guys.
Well, a lot of people stopped talking to me because they were like uncomfortable, like because I'm every conversation. Oh yeah, Jaden did that one time, you know. But I still talk to like my 2 best friends, and like they're like really the only people, like only few people that still talk to me, still check up on me. Some days are harder than others, so like they're still, you know, like if you need anything, like we're here. Like my one of my best friends like just lives down the street, so she's like, I can go to your house, like whatever. But a lot of other people just like were kind of like, we'll just be back here, and it was kind of like, well, because a lot of people also like that went to the same school as us, or like people that I know that knew him, they like to post him and be like, oh, this has been the hardest thing of my life, and other people are like, I'm so sorry for your loss, and they're like, thank you, and I'm just like, you've known him for like 2 days, like what? And that used to bother me a lot, and it still does, because a lot of people still do it. They still like try to take that from me, and they're kind of just like, this has been the hardest loss, and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, you've known him 3 years tops. I've known him since he was born. Like let's talk about that. So it was kind of like a lot of people just were distant and stuff like that, because again, a lot of people at this age kind of don't go through life trauma like that. Like the most they go through, oh, my boyfriend broke up with me, or like, you know, some stupid stuff. And like I wish that I could be going through stupid stuff, you know, like, and then I have to like realize, well, this happened to me, and this happened, and this happened. People are like, you're so strong. I'm not, but that's not the point, you know. So
it gets to the point. I mean, it's fake it till you make it. Type of thing, and you're smiling,
and
and inside you're like,
actors, so.
Yes. I didn't know I was in the presence of such greatness.
Right.
Oh, I have to get an autograph later. What about you?
$25.
Miss Jenna's over there just chilling.
She's quiet.
Not saying much. She did her hair and everything.
Show your hair.
I know. I noticed it's got the teal or blue or whatever. Yeah. Oh, it's a lot in the back.
She's maturing. She's going to middle school.
Fun. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about that we didn't really cover. I think we talked about a lot of stuff. Is there anything that you guys can think of that we didn't go over? Can't think of anything. I think in summary, if there was one thing that you could give advice to parents who are maybe feeling like, I'm going to strangle my child if they don't get out of my house. You know, if they don't go back to school, I don't know what's going to happen. But just maybe one piece of advice that you could give to people. You mentioned earlier, like, was it really important to be yelling at him about the mud in the house? You know, and that's like a pick your battles type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, speak on that a little bit.
I just say, I would give anything to have Jay back. I mean, I wish we didn't have to walk this path, and it sucks. That's the only word I can come up with, because this is our new normal, and we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to survive, I guess, in this world, and it's hard. For me, I just feel like parents should really appreciate their kids. And again, I was that parent because I used to yell at Jay all the time for everything. Oh my god. But at the same time, now looking back, like, just, I wish I could hear him say, I love you, Mom, or, you know, Mommy, are you okay? Or just anything. Like, parents just need to appreciate their kids and just not worry about the little stuff, because you just never know. I mean, I never in a million years thought I would be a cancer mom, and I never thought I would ever have to have my son cremated, and he's just sitting on our, you know, counter in like this urn, like but as a cancer mom and a bereaved mom, I just feel like people don't like dealing with grief and sadness, so my advice for that is just be there. You don't have to say anything, because people have said some really strange things to us where I'm just like, oh my god, I have to compose myself and pray a little bit because I'm going to kill someone. But I would rather have someone sit with me in silence and say absolutely nothing than say, and this is the worst thing anyone could say, I know how you were feeling. No, you really don't. Or I know you're going through. I lost so-and-so. No, it's not the same. And that's my battle with everyone. Like, I've experienced loss. My grandparents, but at the same time, for me, it's like older people are supposed to die. A mother is never supposed to watch their child take their last breath.
Right.
And I urge everyone just to get photos, memories, like just have fun. Because for us, and we have to look at pictures now. We have to look at the canvases.
So I think from a sibling standpoint, like, I'm not saying like to be lovey-dovey with your siblings. Sometimes they're annoying. I'm not even gonna lie. But it's like, I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate the presence of having siblings and being close to your siblings. A lot of people aren't close to their siblings, like super close how they want to be. You know, I just feel like it's always good to have that, some type of good relationship with them. Because, again, you never know what can happen. And like, since me and Jay were little, like, we've done everything together because we were pretty much the same age. So it was like everything I did, he did. Everything he did, I did. So it was kind of like, now that he's not here, it's like people are taking advantage of their siblings. Oh, well, you know, my sibling is so annoying, or my brother did this, or my brother, you know, my brother used to do that, but now he doesn't. So let's talk about that. But, yeah, I think from a sibling standpoint, too, like, it's just as hard. Like, you should... Like, I don't know how to explain it. I know how to explain it in my brain, but it's not coming out. But, just, like, appreciate your sibling, I guess, because you never know, like, what can happen. Because, like, me and Jay were the closest out of all of them, and now it's, like, with my older brother, I don't really have that bond with him. Like, you know, we're close, but we're not as close as me and Jay were. So it's kind of like, you have to take every minute you can get, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
For sure. Anyway, if you have a child who has a terminal diagnosis or a poor diagnosis, get photos taken. Or if you have a maybe a grandparent who's older or a parent who's older, get photos taken, because anything could happen at any time, and this really goes for anybody. I mean, you could step outside tomorrow and get hit by a bus, but we're gonna hope you don't. But just get pictures taken. And everybody says, oh, I take them on my phone. Oh, I have them on my phone. Well, as you just heard, your phone is not indestructible. The cloud is not forever. And you do not want to be in a position where somebody is suddenly gone from your life and you don't have any way of remembering them, where it's something you can see. Obviously, you have your brain, but we all know that's not going to last forever. So just get pictures taken. And if you, especially if you have a child who has a poor diagnosis, call me. We'll go somewhere, we'll take their pictures. I have no problem with that. I'm not going to charge you to do it. We'll figure something out. Because I think that's one of the most important things, is to have photos of your loved ones. Obviously, as a photographer, I want everybody to have pictures of everything. But if you have a child who is sick or something like that, and I don't mean with a cold, but is legitimately sick, call us. If you don't call us, that's fine. Call somebody else. I don't care. Just make sure that you get pictures taken. Before we end, I do want to ask, for this photo session, how was your experience with dark light? I put it at the end in case it was bad, then I can cut it out. If it was bad, I'd be like, we didn't ever ask that question. She'll be like, I swear there was more to it. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
It was amazing. I think, like I said, we had fun. I mean, we were fighting, but we had fun. I mean, it was just, and they're beautiful pictures. Like, this whole book is filled with beautiful pictures. Like,
great angles.
Yeah. So like the picture I was talking about, like, I would have never thought to capture something like that. I'm like, what is he doing? Like, why is he fixing her hair? You know. So, but looking now, they're beautiful. Like, that's love. So,
yeah.
That's your picture, yeah. So I'm real.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, we're still talking. So,
right. So basically, we're like a fungus. Once you're with us forever.
And after they're gonna be doing her picture, so it's like they can't get rid of us.
No. Then we just gotta get Georgie in.
Right.
Let's be the last
smile. Just one smile.
His album
This
cover
one's going in my
picture.
room. Right.
Yeah.
He does music, so his album cover.
Oh, nice.
Let's
Sweet.
see if I have a picture of Georgie smiling. I doubt it. I don't think so.
Probably not.
No, that's no.
He has the same face in every picture.
Little smirk.
Yeah. Not even.
No.
Oh, wait, there's a smile. I lied. There's a smile.
Oh, yay. We could just cut that face out and put it on all of the pictures. People be like, why do I look like that in every picture?
Just don't worry about it.
So definitely contact us if you, or even if you want to get more information. We actually do regular photo sessions for people who aren't sick, so if you just need pictures in general. But definitely contact us for that. I know that, are you guys still using on Instagram the Team Beans hashtag?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so Jaden does have a hashtag still. You wanna?
It's
Spell it.
hashtag Team Beans. It's Team TEAM, and then his soccer name BEANZ.
With a Z. Don't
Yeah.
forget the Z.
Z. So Team Beans with a Z. That's Jaden's hashtag. And if people wanted to maybe support research funding or anything, do you have any information about where they could do that?
The NPCF definitely is the one for the research. They're the ones that fund all that. So I would suggest the NPCF. But there's the Children's Cancer Center. They accept donations. MIB.
All right, well, I guess that is it. We'll wrap it up, and I appreciate everybody for watching. I know it seems long, but it goes really fast when you're sitting here. It doesn't take that long. But if you have any questions about any of the stuff that we talked about today, you can reach out to the Children's Cancer Center here in Tampa or any of the other organizations that Alicia mentioned. You can reach out to us. I don't have a ton of information, but I will find somebody who does. And we're going to put this actual whole video, it'll be on YouTube and on Facebook. So
Starting my career.
you can see more of Sacaria over there.
Oh Lord.
I'll link my channel in the description. Don't
That's
worry
right,
about
yeah, we'll put it on there. But you can watch the whole video if you didn't get a chance to see it once we get that up on there. And our contact information will be on there. You can always find us on Instagram. You can find Alicia on Instagram. So we're everywhere. We're everywhere that we need to be. So thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for coming. You are our second video in our project. So yay! Appreciate y'all coming out. So everybody have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know
the
what makes
new
it.
Scottish tissue.
You know,
It's in this nice pink thing.
that's right.
Did
I
you-
actually bought those when coronavirus started because I was afraid if I couldn't find toilet paper, at least I had Kleenex. Luckily, it never got that bad. But